One day, you will wake up and you will see clearly how you've lived your life. And you will understand why you lived your life that way. And then you'll wonder why you didn't live your life differently. I wrote that one morning following my meditation. That insight had come to me during my meditation. And I made sure that I wrote it down in my journal as quickly as I could because I didn't want to forget it. It meant a lot. It was a moment of clarity for me. It was a moment of realizing that, gosh, I know I've often thought about wanting to have a different life. I've often thought about it. I've certainly thought and intended not to live less fearfully, to live more freely, to live without any guilt or shame or feeling unworthy. I've often had intentions around those kinds of things. But I think what was different about this insight that came to me on this particular morning during my meditation was that there was so much of my life that has already passed. And there's a bit more of life. Who knows? There are no guarantees, but a bit more of my life to live. And exactly what am I doing to live a different life? Now, I think most of us are going to, well, never mind most of us. I know I myself, let me just talk about myself rather than people more generally. Let me just stick to myself. I know that whilst I've had these kinds of intentions and thoughts before, I've also been careful to recognize and acknowledge that life as it is, for me, is beautiful. It's wonderful in so many ways. Does it mean that there are no difficulties, that there are no times when I feel like I want to scream in frustration or in despair or a sense of helplessness? Of course, there have been times like that. Fortunately, less and less these days and over the last few years, but they do occur. So it's not as if when I say that I want to acknowledge how beautiful my life is, I'm not suggesting by any stretch of the imagination that it is free from any and all suffering. No, not at all. And the point of wanting to acknowledge and celebrate the life that I have is to make sure that I recognize the abundance of life and the availability of all the goodness of life in every moment. That's what it is. It's not about wanting to escape anything, although there is a tendency to think in those terms. There is that tendency. If I'm not fully present, I can sometimes resent the situations that I find myself in and the events that are happening in my life. I can resent them. But when I'm fully present, I recognize that, my goodness, there is so much that I am grateful for and so much more that I can be grateful for. So, accepting the abundance and the beauty and the goodness of my life as it is currently does not therefore mean that I cannot aspire to more. And what does it mean to aspire to more? It means, for me, to tap into more of that goodness and that richness and that abundance and that beauty and that joy and that peace and, just the wonderfulness and magnificence of life. And again, I want to be clear. I'm not saying that what I have at the moment is not good enough. It is enough. It is it is perfectly enough. But I want to make sure I say this clearly and carefully and say exactly what I mean. Maybe it's best if I preface it by saying that by nature, life is forever more. There is no aspect of life that stays in a steady state. And what I mean is, when I say steady, I really mean in an unchanging state. Life is forever changing and forever expressing its potential, its infinite potential. And therefore, when I say that I aspire to a different way of being, what I am saying is that I'm aspiring to tap into more and more of that infinite potential, because that is the very nature of life, and I am life itself. I wonder if that makes sense to you. Two things can be true at the same time. I can enjoy this, whatever it is that I'm having. I can enjoy a meal that I'm having now. It doesn't mean that I cannot aspire or entertain the possibility of having another kind of meal that I would also enjoy. Right? I'm sure you can see the logic in that. That's reasonable. That's a wonderful thing. Because, you see, when we don't allow the natural flow of life, the natural expansion of life, the natural expression of life's infinite possibilities, when we somehow block it essentially with our limited beliefs and ideas about ourselves and about the world and about life, when we, and mostly unconsciously, block it, then we are in fact blocking the natural flow of life. We are in fact stagnating. And what that means is, at least the way I see it, it's dying a slow death, because it's denying the natural flow and expansion of life within me, as me, through me. I wanted to share that with you because I really think it's important. Certainly it is important for me, and I want to share it because I want us all to recognize that these two things are not only possible, but they are natural. They're quite natural. Where I am today is beautiful, and because I'm gifted, as we all are, with imagination, the ability to see beyond what is, I aspire and to what is possible, what is further possible. And both those things, as I said, are not just possible, but they are just necessary, because they're so natural. If nobody had aspired beyond the given, beyond what is, do you think we would have any of the amazing and wondrous innovations that we take so much for granted today, from something as simple as a toaster, for example, or theme parks and movies and smartphones and today AI, and all of these without exception can be abused. There's no doubt about that, but that's a whole different issue. The point that I am trying to make is that because we are all gifted with imagination and the desires that somehow we find within ourselves, because we are gifted with these, when we allow them to take expression, they result in things that have, and or can at least have, and often do have, such wondrous, marvelous, gorgeous impact on the lives of people. Okay, that's what I wanted to share today. If you have any thoughts about this, do share them with me. And in the meantime, wherever you are, I wish for you the ongoing expression and nurturing, in the first instance, of your imagination, the expression of your truly loving desires, and the freedom to allow yourself to pursue them, to bring them into manifestation. Okay, talk to you later.